welcome to Psychology 101. Today we're going to be looking at personality. So personality, defined in its simplest form, would be a unique, relatively consistent pattern of thinking, feeling, and behaving. This can include personal preferences, expectations of others, your sense of humor, or how you handle situations. The first approach we're going to look at is the psychoanalytical approach, which can be credited to Freud. An easy way to think of this approach would be to think of laying on a couch, freely talking about whatever comes to your mind, or in other words, the talking cure. This theory is centered mainly around what Freud believed to be the two things that drive us, which are desire and death. With his theory, Freud helped to contribute to psychology with the very important idea of the unconscious, as well as his iceberg metaphor. The iceberg metaphor has three main elements: the superego, the ego, and the id. Think of the superego as a moral guide, or your conscience, which makes you feel guilty if you do something wrong. The superego always wants to fit with the voice of society. This is mainly conscious. The id, which is mostly unconscious, functions on pleasure. An easy way to remember the id would be that it is what I want, and is the selfish part. The id wants immediate gratification of needs to reduce tension and discomfort regardless of the consequence. Lastly, the ego functions to balance the demands of the selfish id and the self-conscious ego. Freud would say that personality is a struggle between the id, ego, and superego. Although Freud contributed a lot to psychology, there are some major criticisms of his work. Many believe it to be sexist, controversial, and illegit, as you cannot scientifically confirm that, for example, the ego or id exist. Nonetheless, his ideas have helped to shape modern psychology. One important aspect of personality is our use of defense mechanisms. We're going to look at the 7 major defense mechanisms now. The first, which is denial, which is outrightly denying the anxiety. The second is repression, which is blocking out or preventing the anxiety. In other words, forcing it back into the unconscious. Third is rationalization, which is creating false reasons or explanations for anxiety. So let's say, I failed that test because I didn't study, or I didn't have time to study. Fourth, projection, seeing in others unacceptable feelings that reside on one's own unconscious. Displacement, acting out anxiety on an innocent party, as can be seen in scapegoating. Sixth, we have reaction formation, which can be defined as reversing the nature of the anxiety so that it feels like the opposite nature. So if you have an extreme dislike for someone, maybe you're extra nice to them. Lastly is sublimation, or channeling anxiety into socially acceptable activities, such as working out, for example. As you can see, some of these, such as denial or displacement, are negative ways of dealing with anxiety, but ways such as sublimation can be positive. Some basic notes on personality are that it's stable over time, it's relatively stable across different situations, and we have specific traits. Now we're going to change a little bit and look at types of personality tests. The main ones really are the 5-factor model, TAT test, and the ink blot test. So the 5-factor model personality is probably the most common. It analyzes the 5 major areas of personality through multiple choice questions, and you can remember it as ocean. The O represents openness, the C, conscientiousness, the E, extroversion, the A, agreeableness, and the N, neuroticism. Inkblot tests, or projective tests, ask about meaningless pictures in the belief that you will give an answer about the inner workings of the mind. They are mainly used to measure how people process information, as well as areas such as individual creativity, coping resources, emotional processing, and thought disorders. In this video, I'm not going to go over all the personality theories, as that would take a whole nother video, but I'm going to go over Allport's trait theory. So a trait can be defined as a relatively enduring, consistent personality characteristic. In Allport's trait theory, there are three kinds of traits, which are cardinal, that affect every area of an individual's life, such as altruism, for example. Second are central traits, which influence many aspects of life, but not quite as pervasive as cardinal traits. An example would be being kind or funny. And lastly, secondary traits, which affect narrow aspects of our life, such as wearing a kind of perfume or liking hats. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.